Hello everyone. If you are new here, I'm Amanda. I love to paint and I love to teach people how to paint. So today's video is going to be about sketchbooks. I've been getting some questions on social media about sketchbooks because I usually practice in my sketchbooks. I take photos or video, and sometimes I paint in the sketchbook and just use the actual piece of paper for my finished painting. So I have several works on paper that are on my website, and they were painted on the kinds of paper that I'm going to show you today. So you don't have to invest in super expensive canvases. This is one thing that I've noticed that a lot of students or beginner artists are a little bit, I don't know, fear or scared. I don't know what kind of word to use for that, but they're hesitant. That's the word I'm looking for. A lot of beginner artists are hesitant to really play and experiment and do things on canvas because they're afraid they're going to waste their supplies and waste money. And they feel like they get all tense because they feel like they've got to create something that they can sell to kind of make up for the amount of money they spent on the supplies, like the canvas that they've used. So I want to show you this because I think it'll help you to loosen up a little bit and not be so stingy with your supplies. So I'm going to switch my camera around and we're going to take a little sketchbook tour. I'm going to show you my sketchbook, and we are going to, well, I'm actually going to show you a couple. We're going to tour a couple of them, and I'm going to show you some other things that I've got here. So hopefully this is going to help you. If you've had questions about using paper for painting, because yes, it is super duper doable. Okay, so I've got 3 different ones here. I've also got some paper over there I'm going to show you. But first of all, let's start with this one down here. This one is a mixed media pad. My light is going to mess me up. Okay, this is a mixed media pad, and I bought it at Walmart. So you don't have to go to an art store to buy supplies. You can use a mixed media pad from Walmart. I mean, it is an artist pad, but it is mixed media in that you can use all of these different mediums with it, and it tells you which, what does it say here? The paper that you're using, what kind of medium would be good for. This mixed media here, it has stars, which means it's excellent for those things, and it has check marks, which means it is average. So for acrylic, gouache, watercolor, marker, pen and ink, pastel, charcoal, color pencil, graphite, this kind of paper will work for any of those things. And it's not the thickest paper in the world, but it will work. So a lot of times people ask me, does it buckle? Does it wrinkle up? So here's a page here where I just put down some paint that was left over after I finished a class or a painting or something. And you can see that it's starting to come up here on the edges a little bit. But what I do is I just use these little office clips to hold it down. And I know that another artist showed me how to do this, but I cannot remember who it was. So if you're watching this and you know, then please give them credit. But I use these all the time and they work great. Then another thing you could do is paint on the back of it. So if you're using a thinner paper, you could paint the front and then just paint the back, and it will help it to lay flat. You could use some gesso on the back if you don't want to use paint. So you could use your leftover paints to paint the back sides of the papers in your sketchbook, and that will help them to lay flat if you care very much about them wrinkling up or whatever. This is 98-pound paper, so it's not very thick, but I'm just going to show you. I painted this whole painting here is covering the whole paper, and it is pretty flat and it worked just fine. This one is not very wrinkly. I showed you that. That's some swatching I did. This was part of the lesson we did for the love letters. This one is completely painted too, and you can see it is starting to curl up on the edge here, but it's not really wrinkly and really buckled everywhere. This one has some thick texture on it, and it is just fine too. Same here. This one it's not a whole lot of paint, but it is a good bit. And all of these seem to, instead of really buckling in the middle, the edges just seem to want to pop up. And so that's what makes these little clips so handy. Another thing I want to show you is that these, in this sketchbook, you can pull them out, but it doesn't tear anything. They're made so that they can be pulled out, and then you can just pop them back in here. I was just doing this earlier today. So what I usually do is I pull them out and I scan them, and then I can just put them back in here. So Walmart Sketchbook Mixed Media by Grumbacher is a winner. Okay, I also sometimes use this Canson Mixed Media paper. So this is also 98-pound paper. And it comes in different sizes. This one is 12 by 18, which is a weird shape. And what I do is, if I don't really want my painting to be that big, I just fold it and paint. Like, I wanted a square for this one, and so I just folded it and created my own size, and that works really well too. All right, let's look at these two. So this one is Stillman and Burn, the Alpha series. This paper in here is really, really good. I don't know. I don't have my thing that it came with when I bought it, but you can look it up. Stillman and Burn Alpha series. Pretty sure I got it from Dick Blick. And this is palette knife work here. So that is super thick, and this is not buckling at all. Same for these. This is a lot of paint on here, and these pages are, that one too, they're just as flat as can be. I'm giving you somewhat of a tour. This one is, I use more for experimenting with little ideas. So sometimes I use it for class or planning, things like that. Drawing things, and I shove little pieces of things in here. Like, this was me working on a composition for a barn painting. These are just swatches of paint. I don't even remember what the purpose of this was. Maybe it was a class. I don't know. If you guys saw the cow in the bathtub and the swan, this is how it began. This is the little sketch, and there's the swan. I actually turned her around the other way. But I use my sketchbooks for coming up with ideas. This was a tutorial in the creative community. And just playing. And this was some extra paint that just got thrown down in here. This was me sketching out the idea for the love letters tutorial that we did. And this was the last entry in here. So see, I've got these clips holding it down here too. And they work really well. So this is a little bitty one. This is more for just thumbnail sketches, swatching, little small paintings and ideas like that. But the paper in here is really good. And here is my big floral. I've designated this one just to practicing florals. It's a Canson Art Book 180. And this paper is very thin. I don't know what the thickness is, but it is thin. But the reason why I like this one is because it opens up flat and I can paint all the way across. I mean, I could use this kind of paper and do that too, but it's all here in a book and I can keep it all together and not take up so much space. So I don't even remember when I started this book. It was last year sometime, but I've added florals in here and practiced with different ideas and different colors, and it's worked just fine. As far as it does wrinkle, you can see these little wrinkles around the edge here on this one. And I did write what colors I used on some of these, so it doesn't have to be really thick paper for it to work, but it probably will keep you from being a little more frustrated. This one is super bright, and I used colors that I don't like for this one. If you get frustrated because you feel like it's wrinkled and you don't like that, you can just paint the back of it with some gesso. So if I wanted to in this one, I could do a gesso and then a painting, and then the next spread do gesso again, and that would help it to lay flat a little better. But I don't really mind all these little wrinkles. It doesn't bother me. So this spread, I just did some charcoal flowers there. And another thing that I haven't done in here is go all the way to the edge. So I've left the edges a little bit bare, and I think that might help a little bit. This was me trying out some paint that I hated it, but that's why I don't really like this at all, but I can't take it out now. That was just a fun little study. And here I tried using some purples because I hardly ever use purple, and I actually like the way this one turned out. So a lot of times, I did this in a live video not long ago here on my Facebook page, and it's also on YouTube. So you could go back and watch that if you wanted to. But a lot of times I forgot what I was going to say. That I didn't like purple, but a lot of times I use my sketchbook for ideas. So, for example, last night I was working on some different sunflower pieces. So I did this one in here. I did another one in that other sketchbook. Let me grab it. And I could have these out. If I had more than these two that were big enough, I could have done it on paper too. So I had these out, and I did this one first, and then I did that one. And it allowed me to try different things. So on this one, I had an idea of what I wanted for my colors and got that one down. And I used some different background ideas on that one. But then when I turned and did this one the next time, the second one, I wanted to play with the background color. And so I put in this pink on this side and it's more green on this side. And it allowed me to do like a little comparison to see which one I like better. So I'm studying my own work, basically, by doing this in my sketchbook and not feeling like I'm wasting anything. It's just paper. It's not going to take up a lot of space in my studio here and be on a big canvas or anything like that. But I can pull from this and create things that are bigger or are on canvas, or maybe turn into a series that I want to offer for sale on my website or something like that. But both of these are in different sketchbooks that turned out to be some of my favorites. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that you'll grab a sketchbook of your own and play in it, get messy in it, allow yourself to test things and try things and see what happens, because that is how you learn. And put things in there that you don't like. Try things like this. This is so bright. Try things that make you feel a little uncomfortable, and then play with it until you turn it into something that you really love. And then you can go back, and it's almost like a diary that you can keep to help you to remember, really, and look back at your work from the past. And you could even take notes and write in here and say, I used this color, I used that color, I didn't like this, I used that brush and I didn't like it, or I did like it, or this turned out this way because of this or that. So I thought this was something that would be helpful to those of you who have been asking me about my sketchbooks. And leave me a comment below and let me know if you have any other questions, or if there's a certain sketchbook that is your favorite and that you like to use. And I will see you next time. Bye.